thank you everyone so much for joining us today. We are thrilled, excited, flabbergasted, all of the above to have you all joining us today. My name is Jaleesa Whitley. I am the DEI&B Talent Brand Strategist for Organon, and I am also the Program Manager for Next Relaunch at Organon as well. And I am joined by some wonderful colleagues of mine. We're here to talk to you a little bit more about Next Relaunch at Organon, which is our relaunch program here, and talk to you a little bit more about the culture at Organon. We'll talk something about our opportunities that we have available, and just really give you the opportunity to answer some of those questions that you all have submitted to us. So, again, thank you so much for joining us. I'll give my colleagues the opportunity to introduce themselves in a minute, but I'm going to pass it over to Elizabeth.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jaleesa, for that wonderful kickoff. Hello, everybody. Hello, relaunchers. So happy to see a good showing in the audience here. My name is Elizabeth Gish. I am a managing director at iRelaunch and couldn't be more thrilled to be here with everyone together today. I have had the privilege of working with the Organon team on the design and the launch of the next Relaunch with Organon pilot program. And it was clear from the start of our partnership together that Organon's commitment to hiring relaunchers was a great fit with their culture. As Jeff, one of the team members here, shared, I guess it was back in August of 2022 when we started kind of talking about the concept of this program. He said that Organon values passion and potential, not just having recent work experience. So as a relauncher myself, having taken a 15-year career break, this perspective, it's key to an employer's successful recruitment and retention of professionals with career breaks. So Organon's, their pilot program kicked off in Lisbon, Portugal, in January of 2023, where they had recently opened up a new office. And they had the intention to launch a small pilot program, to allow for the opportunity to learn and improve upon its design with the right planning and execution and management. And so it was a very deliberate and intentional process. Their approach from the conceptualization to the actual launch and management of their pilot, it was a real collaboration between their relauncher, Adele, who you're going to have an opportunity to hear from today, her manager, and the support team, including her mentor and buddy. So the concept of the next program started with Organon's deep understanding of what a relauncher is. And the definition is actually quite broad. It is a mid-career professional who's taken a break for any number of reasons, including family care, so your child care or your elder care, perhaps a health issue, a sabbatical or entrepreneurship or unretiring, or perhaps going to part-time work. Trailing spouse is another reason. So the Organon really understands the value that you and the audience bring to their workforce. You're educated professionals with a mature perspective and most likely in a stable life stage. So they have seen the enthusiasm that the relaunchers bring to a team and their desire to add value and find purpose within their work. And with the pilot, they were able to tweak and improve upon the design, and they're just really excited now to expand the program to the US and to Canada and Brazil. So, Jaleesa, I will hand it back off to you. If you could provide an overview of the next program for our audience here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for those opening remarks. So, as Elizabeth mentioned, we did pilot the program last year in Lisbon, and we were so fortunate to have Adele, who'll speak to you in a bit, be our first relauncher here at Organon. And what we found is that because the program was just so successful, we saw such a high need for it, our leadership team really backed us and said, hey, let's launch this in the US, Canada, and Brazil, again, as Elizabeth mentioned. So what makes this program so unique is that our relaunchers will be able to apply to our role for direct hire full-time roles. So upon being hired to a position here at Organon through our relaunch program, from day one, you will be a direct hire Organon founder, as we call ourselves here. So that's something that really helps us stand out with this program. Another thing about the program is that we offer within the first 12 weeks of your employment something what we call like a soft onboarding. So you'll go through the regular process of what you would typically go through when you start a new role. You'll go through your I-9 process and things like that. In addition to that, we offer you that one-on-one attention. So we'll assign you a buddy, we'll assign you a mentor, and these representatives of the business are meant to really help you transition seamlessly back into the workforce. What we recognize here at Organon is that coming back into the corporate environment, especially after taking an extensive career break, can be like starting the first day of kindergarten. It can be a little scary. And so we really want to ensure that your transition back is as seamless and peaceful as possible. So a part of your onboarding will include setting you up with that mentor and that buddy to help you with your day-to-day navigation and to be available to just answer any day-to-day questions that you may have. Along with that, you will be involved in some professional development sessions with myself as the program manager and with some of our other leadership members here at Organon. So these sessions will include just teaching you things like how to build your resume, how to network, rebuilding your LinkedIn. Again, some things that we find that relaunchers really want to tap into and continue to develop in their personal and professional career growth. Last few things, again, do want to reiterate that this program is focused in the US, Canada, and Brazil. We hope to eventually expand the program globally as we are a global company, but we're still up and running and growing. And we're just so thankful to be able to expand it after 1 year. So that's just a really quick overview of the program. Again, afterwards, we will send some more information and resources so you can look at our webpage and get some more details about the program. And I will pass it back over to Elizabeth.
Great. Thanks, Jaleesa. I love what you had talked about was it's sort of a soft landing, I guess, for these relaunchers.
Yeah.
And it really is that, the nerves, the imposter syndrome, the stress, right, of getting back into that corporate environment with a career break, anywhere from 2 years to, we've seen relaunchers having taken, up to a 20-year career break. So that soft landing is so critical to set them up for success. So I really appreciate you sharing all about that programming. So we're now going to move into the panel discussion. And many of you in the audience had submitted some questions during the registration process. And so I'm going to try to weave some of these into our panel discussion right now. And then if we have time at the end, I'll go back and kind of go through those and kind of address the others at the end, as I mentioned, if we have time. Okay, so Jaleesa, if I could just kind of toss it back to you for a minute, if you could talk about, just generalize some of the roles, that you all are offering.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have opportunities in our commercial space, really all of our functions. So that includes legal, business technology, or what would be called IT and some other companies, manufacturing, et cetera, et cetera. So we have opportunities in various markets. Some of our regions, our opportunities are more prominent. So like in Brazil, or even in our European markets, we might have more manufacturing opportunities. Versus here in the US and North America, we might have more sales opportunities. So it varies, honestly. But again, this program is open to all full-time direct hire opportunities within those three regions that we are marketing to.
Okay, great. And I'm not sure if you had mentioned different programs have different either remote or a hybrid or in office. If you could actually share a little bit about that, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one thing that one of the many benefits I love about being an Organon founder is that we do extend the opportunity to work remotely. Now, again, that can vary based off of the role. For example, some of our sales roles they're in the field. So, excuse me if there's an echo. Some of our sales positions, they are in the field, so they might not be remote, so to speak. So it really just depends on the function. A lot of our corporate function roles are remote or hybrid. So again, it does vary depending on the position. But again, what I love about Organon is that they recognize that, we have families, we have extracurricular activities. So there is the opportunity to work hybrid or remotely.
Okay, awesome. So Jaleesa, as the program manager, I know it's a huge role for you, but I want to hand it over to our the other team members that are on the call here to introduce themselves, and also just a little bit of housekeeping. If we're not talking, and I need to do this myself, it's just to put ourselves on mute. That would be great. So Jeff, can I hand it off to you to do a brief introduction, and then we can dive into some more questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everybody. My name is Jeff Webb. I'm the Global Talent Brand Leader for Organon. I'm part of our Global Talent Attraction organization. I work for Jen. And our team is responsible for future talent hiring, talent branding, and all DE and IMB initiatives. So that's why Relaunch falls under sort of my purview.
Awesome. And Jen, hi.
Hi there. Hi. So I'm Jen Hinkle. I head up our Global Talent Attraction organization. So ultimately, my team's responsible for attracting wonderful talent to Organon. And so that could include from, a branding perspective and future talent and relaunchers like Jeff just described, all the way to, people coming from diverse backgrounds, and we look at different organizations that we partner with, schools. So my team's responsible for kind of managing that whole piece and making sure we get the right people in the right roles at the right time.
I love it. I love it. Thanks, Jen. Yeah, that's great. Hi, Adele.
Hi. Can you hear me? I'm
Yeah, we can hear
paranoid
you.
about not being heard. Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, my name is Adele Freitas, and I'm a source to settle specialist here at Global Shared Services, which is now, I guess, a different name, part of Organon. It's the business center here at Organon, based in Lisbon. So.
And you're in Lisbon. Yeah. Thanks, Adele. I've got a number of questions that I know the audience will really be pleased to hear your answers to. So we'll get into that in just a second. Mm-hmm. All right. So next I wanted to go into something that I'm sure is very top of mind for our audiences with respect to the application process, because it can be pretty daunting for relaunchers if they're just starting their search right now and they're very interested in this program and they haven't been through the application and the interview process in quite some time. And just knowing what to expect can really help settle any sort of anxiety that they may be feeling. So let's see. I can either, Jaleesa or Jeff, if either one of you want to answer this one, how does the hiring process assess and value the transferable skills of the candidates who have gained a lot of experience? They've worked before through any different work experience. So can you talk a little bit about, how you look at transferable skills?
Yeah, I think I can address that. I mean, so I think you spoke to it earlier, Elizabeth, when you said, we really look for passion and potential within candidates, and certainly within candidates in the relaunch community. One of the things, well, a couple of things that I want to bring up at this point. First of all, I think it's important that as a relauncher applies that they put up their hand and say, hello, I am a relauncher, right? Because that will help our TABPs, or our talent attraction business partners, know who you are and that you are self-identifying as a relauncher. You can do that through a resume. We also have a questionnaire on all of our requisitions in Brazil, the US, and Canada that just asks you to self-identify as well, and that helps us to sort of not handle it differently, but at least take that experience into consideration as we're looking at those resumes. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, no, it does. And I love what you said about, putting out the information that you're a relauncher. And just to emphasize to the audience here, in order to be to qualify for the program, you have to be a relauncher, right?
Hmm.
And so being able to identify yourself and call out your break, put it on your LinkedIn resume and that drop down menu that's on your profile for LinkedIn. A couple of years ago, they put that on there as an added feature. That you can actually put down career break. So put that on there, put that on your resume. For so many years, we all, and again, I will add myself to you as a relauncher, try to hide our break, but we really want to, Organon's really looking to see where that is and the fact that you are a relauncher. Yeah, Jeff, thank you so much for addressing that. A question that had come in, and I know we talked during our prep about it, is the best way to go about applying for a job so you don't get auto rejected by AI. So, we have a resource on our website that we can share with the audience afterwards, but I didn't know if anybody on the call here had anything to any advice on that.
Well, we don't auto reject anybody by AI, so
Great.
so that's that's the first point. But again, I think it's important to just call out your career break and make that very evident in your resume. I mean, one of the reasons why we created this program was we wanted to normalize the idea of taking career breaks, right? And so it's hard to normalize something if you don't actually kind of shout it out. So it's very important for us to be able to say, and we're working with our hiring managers as well to say, what it's perfectly okay, it's perfectly normal to take a career break, and so keep that in mind when you're interviewing these candidates, that they may not
Right.
have exactly relevant experience right now. I see Jen probably wanted to add to that.
No, I was just going to say, I think what's really important, and I, I have a personal situation here I'd actually like to share, where this person actually could be one of our viewers out there in the audience. She's one of my really good friends. At the time when she started having children, she decided she wanted to take a career break. She had a very, very successful career actually at Nike. I used to always go to her to get my sneakers during that time because she got some really good she decided at the time, I'm going to take a break. And at that time, also, her mother was very ill and she wanted to spend the remaining time with her mom. And gosh, I get teary eyed every time thinking about it. She was a wonderful lady. And she took that break. And now her kids are grown, her kids are back in school or in school, I should say. And she wants to come back into the workforce. And so I loud and clear put it out there that you don't hide your breaks. I even advise, like, if people are actually, even our candidates are moving from organization to organization, don't even hide that, because every time you do something, if it's, helping, being a caregiver or raising your children, right, you're still learning new skills. You're still doing something to help yourself grow. And that's what's important at Organon. It's all about growing and what skills you bring to the table. So I would just recommend don't hide it. We want to see it. So.
Yeah. Thank you, Jen. I like that. I oftentimes at iRelaunch, we talk about these career breaks as gifts for the relaunchers because they've had the opportunity to step away from their previous jobs where they have a lot of work experience. The hard skills have been developed, right? And during that break, they start to do some real self-reflection and figure out what they want to do next. And as they're doing that, perhaps they're upskilling, but they're growing, right? They're growing to be able to contribute and add value to their next step in their career. So Jen, thanks so much for sharing that story. I really appreciate hearing that. And I would imagine that was one of the reasons and sort of the thing that got you excited about this program and to get involved.
Yes, yes. And one of, and I know, we'll talk about culture here in just a little bit, but I mean, one of our cultural values is we all belong. And it doesn't matter about your gender or your race, your ethnicity, you're taking a career break, right? We want that diverse perspective and those diverse views and ideas here at Organon. And that's one of the reasons why I love working here. So.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. Jeff, how about for you? Tell us a little bit about like what got you motivated to get involved in the program.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be 100% honest and transparent. When I first heard of Relaunch, I had no idea what it was. I mean, I really didn't. And then I learned more and more about the type of worker and the type of person that a relauncher usually is, having had that depth of experience. But also, I think the thing that was exciting for me was the amount of motivation that person has, right? So, and the stories that I heard about relaunchers from other companies who had started off, maybe in a sales role, but then quickly progressed to become, C-suite level, candidates in the organization. And I think there's a story particular to IBM about that. So, I mean, I was really impressed with just, this whole story that relaunchers had around, kind of taking the experiences they had when they were on their career break and then turning that around and becoming, very quickly contributing members of an organization.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate hearing that. And now, Adele, we're going to go on over to you. Okay, good. Can you just first off just introduce yourself again, or just fill us in a little bit about yourself and what did you do before your career break? And then we'll kind of get into like how long was your break and why Organon?
Yeah, so can you hear me? Just want to make sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
A lot of
Yeah.
technical issues before this call. That's why I just want to make
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, so where do I start? I was a startup incubator manager in Boston for about 7 years. It was a startup incubator inside of a public university, UMass Boston, University of Massachusetts, Boston. And then I had 2 kids and kind of scaled back to part-time. And then my husband and I decided to move to Portugal. And I was actually pregnant with my 3rd child. And when we got here, it just made more sense for me to stay at home. So I became a stay-at-home mom for about 6 years. And I came back to work last year through the iRelaunch program. And that's a short story. That's the short version of it. But yeah, in that time, in that 6-year break, I was bringing up my children. I helped my husband start a painting and construction company. I freelanced as a web designer and as a fine artist. And so I wasn't, just a stay-at-home mom. I guess maybe this is something that most iRelaunchers can identify with. During that break, I'm sure there are others who can identify with this. I was definitely a mom, but I felt like, okay, I have some time, I can, in between, giving kids snacks and bedtime and baths and all that. And, I was actually homeschooling my kids too for a period of time. I did find some time to be creative, and I took hold of that time to start a blog and kind of get into web design and art. And then as my kids grew up and started to go to school, I had a little bit more time to kind of explore my interests in those areas. But, it came to a point where I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to go back to work. For financial reasons, it was kind of hard with just my husband with all the financial, pressure of bringing up the family and supporting the family. So I started to look for a job, and it took me 2 years. It was a 2-year job search.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't want to just settle for anything,
Yeah.
I was looking for something flexible. I was looking for a company or an organization that shared my goals and shared my, you know, that was a comfortable place, a good place to work, a place that I could grow. So that was a process, but yeah, that is my story in a nutshell.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. So what I'm hearing from you is just you were working before, had some really good work experience, and transitioning to, a big move across the world, right? And I'm sure that had a lot of growth opportunities there, learning a new language, raising your children in a place that you weren't familiar with, and then at the same time pursuing some of your art, some of your passion, and then really being able to, as I said before, sort of self-reflection about, yep, I do need, the reality is, okay, need some another paycheck, but also like, what do I want to do? What is going to fill me with purpose? And wanting to be within a culture that has that belonging, right? That Jen has talked about, right? Is feeling as though you're belonging. And it sounds like through Organon, you have found that. So can you talk a little bit about, what it was like to go back and how you prepared yourself for that first interview? Did you have some resources? Did you talk to others who had relaunched? I mean, what was that like?
So I think I actually, in my previous job in Boston, I was helping students get internships for high-tech startup companies. So I would actually go through this process with them, finding the company, making sure you cater your resume to the job description and not just kind of like sending it, willy-nilly, blindly, making sure that you really get the attention of the person reading the resume. So I found myself just kind of applying everything I was teaching to these students a couple of years prior, utilizing your network, just getting in touch with people, learning as much as you can about, I was learning as much as I could about different job opportunities through people in my network. What is it like to work at your company? What is it like to work at your company? So I would talk to different people and really try to learn about opportunities that were available. And I think it was, for me, my particular search, I started my search in the UK because I was thinking, it's funny, I kind of limited myself because of the language. I was thinking, in Portugal, you have to speak, very advanced Portuguese. And I started my search in the UK, and I was actually I was targeting incubation management or innovation sort of business development jobs. And, the door just shut for that. Like I was getting doors shut in my face constantly, just no, we found someone else. No, thank you for your application, but we have found a different candidate. So I got a lot of rejections. And then, I think after a certain period of time, I think maybe it was 6 months to a year, I can't remember exactly, I just took a break from searching. I was just like, this is too much for me. I can't deal. I kind of got emotionally, I felt emotionally tired with the whole job searching process. So I took a break and I did my art. I just decided to do something that gave me joy. And I focused my energy on that and did some web design too. And I think I was always part of iRelaunch's mailing list. And I noticed that all of their events were in the US, so when I was in Portugal, I was like, oh, it's nice to read about, but I won't be able to attend anything because it's all in the US. I don't know, it wasn't really applicable to me. So, and then I remember, I think it was in October or November, I saw an email with an event in Lisbon, and I was like, what? It just like jumped out at me. I was just like, okay. And I remember signing up for the event, and then the event got moved or something like that. And then Kristen Peterson reached out to me from Organon, and she was like, oh, I saw that you signed up for the event, and I think she encouraged me to apply for some positions at Organon. And I remember looking at Organon's website, and I was like, I don't think I fit at all into these type of jobs. Like, I was just like, this is not me. This is not, it's just the knowledge or invoice processing, source to settle, SAP, all these different requirements, qualifications, just kind of was like, oh, okay, I don't know. I have a business degree, but I don't know, like I can, but okay, I'll apply. So I guess I just kind of felt open to trying. And I think I went with that, and then the rest is kind of history.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you. We're going to talk a little bit more about where you are now at Organon, and that's something to celebrate, but I don't want to go into that quite yet. We'll give you some time with that in a minute, but Jaleesa, I'm going to hop back over to you if I could.
I'm sorry, Elizabeth, could I just add something?
Yeah, please, Jen.
It's just some advice. So, Adele talked about taking your resume and making sure that it fits, right, the job you're applying for. I just want to offer some feedback and recommendations out there. If you just go in your job hunt and you submit your resumes online and you fill out your applications and you go through that process, that's not what's going to get you that interview. What's going to get you that interview is networking. And that's so important today in today's world, is networking. And so all of you, right, first and foremost, should have a LinkedIn profile out there. And you can find different individuals. So we would all love for you to come work at Organon, right? But if we don't have the right opportunity for you, just some advice for you for other organizations is get out there and start networking with them, finding those individuals that can help you kind of get an introduction. And then, Adele was nervous, right? She's like, I don't know if I should apply for this. And she took that shot. And so don't be scared, right? Make that introduction, get in there and show them what you're worth and show them that you're capable of learning new skills. So I just wanted to offer that up. It's networking is very important.
Yeah. And that's a good segue into just to add on to that, Jen. When you start that networking, have your elevator pitch ready. And when I talk about your elevator pitch, that's really thinking about yourself entering onto the ground floor and going up to floor 4. And you're in there with an executive of a company that you really want to work for. And that you've got that 2 minutes just to talk about, who you are, what you've done, and what you want to do, right? And so just practice that out loud and get really comfortable with it. And then start talking to people, as Jen was saying, in your network. It can also just be friends of friends, and just letting people know that you're ready to get back. And do they know somebody in this, industry? And as Jen again had pointed out, using LinkedIn, and asking for informational interviews. We really encourage that, because people like to talk about themselves and they like to talk about what they do, as long as they're not being asked for favor right away. They're willing to go have coffee or whatever if you say, hey, listen, I really love what you do. How did you get to that place, right? And so, Jen, thanks so much for bringing that up. I really like that, and I'm hoping our audience has some good takeaways from that too. So we'll go on now to what are you looking for in an applicant, Jaleesa? We talked a little bit about the transferable skills, but this does kind of feed in a little bit into the culture, and we can touch on that as well there at Organon. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So, just in general, it really does depend on the job function. Every role is going to require something different. Something that might be more technical might require more, of a technological background and certain languages that you might need to be familiar with, versus something that's in HR might be a little bit different, might be more experience based. So it's really going to vary based off of that. What I will say, what we're looking for, and Jeff and Jen really touched on this, is it really is about the person. One thing that we say a lot here at Organon is bring your fire. And I remember I talked to Jeff. So for the audience, Jeff is actually my boss. So I roll up to him and to Jen. And he's great. But I remember just sitting thinking about, what does that mean? Bring your fire. And when I first heard it, I thought, okay, this means I have to be super innovative and super creative all the time. I have to be happy and upbeat all the time. And as I got to know my team and got more acquainted in my role, and you know leaned in on my leaders to help build me up as a founder and a leader, I realized that your fire doesn't have to be that big. Sometimes fire isn't a campfire. Sometimes it's just striking a match. That's still your fire. And that's what I've seen and noticed here at Organon. And that's what we're looking for in our applicants, is for you to show up as who you are. There are days in our team meetings, and Jeff can probably attest to this with me, where I'm a little quiet and I may not have much to say or much to contribute idea wise. But I'm learning. I'm always learning, and the synergy that we have in the room, and not just with my team, but I've seen it with other teams as well. We really do a great job here at Organon in leaning into everyone's talent and experience, which is why this program is so important. So, to bring it back, that's what we're looking for from an applicant, someone to really just show up as who they are. We recognize that you're not just limited by your skills, that the skills again are transferable, but we also want you to bring your experience and your authentic self to the table, because we have so many resources here at Organon that align to everyone's different background. A lot of our founders are bilingual and trilingual. A lot of them have taken career breaks. Some of them were in the military. And again, all of these unique experiences really attribute to our ability to grow and be such trailblazers in a very competitive market right now. So that would be what we're looking for in an applicant.
Awesome. Jaleesa, thank you so much. And I want to add on to that a little bit to our audience with respect to your resume and any sort of upskilling that you all have done during your break. If you've gotten a certification, if you have done some volunteer work, some we call strategic volunteering, that aligns with what you want to do, or were you to apply to Organon or somewhere else, put that on your resume. And oftentimes, we've seen resumes where the upskilling and the certifications are first. Those appear first on your resume. For me personally, I started on Wall Street. I did a bunch of volunteering with a nonprofit for 7 years. And I put that on the top of my resume. I didn't have to say it was paid or not paid. That was pretty much irrelevant. But all that experience that I had with training and working with teachers and so on and so forth, I leveraged that to get a job at Oracle in corporate social responsibility. So it works. It definitely works. And I encourage anybody that feels that they have that upskilling that would align with what you're applying to, really, highlight on that on your LinkedIn profile, and then on your resume. Okay, so Jaleesa, again, thank you for that. And I'm going to go over to you, Jeff. Can you talk a little bit about your timing for hiring? And I understand the program structure it's structured around a rolling admission. And if you could what does that mean? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so one of the things is, because we are opening up all roles in North America, so Canada, US, and Brazil, to potentially to relaunchers, we really couldn't do a cohort. So we decided to do a rolling admission, which just basically means that we would have start dates that may not all coincide on the same day. Now, in some countries, it does coincide on the same day, and that's just because of payroll. But not everybody would always start at the same time. So the program is structured intentionally to ensure that every relauncher gets the same experience and the same level of experience, but may not all start at the same time. Now, also, that doesn't mean that we're not going to create a community of relaunchers, right? So we'll definitely have that community in place, and we're hoping over time it grows. And so, there will be maybe at the beginning a smaller group of relaunchers who will, interact with each other, and then over time, that community internally will grow. We've heard about some organizations that actually have gone on to have like relaunch ERGs and whatnot.
Mhm.
So, maybe we'll emulate that in the future.
Oh, great. Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, no, there's so much value in joining that community and hearing from alumni, hearing from Adele, who's gone through the program, and a relauncher can, ping or do an internal chat to Adele, like, hey, I've run into this issue, like how, and of course you all have done such a fantastic job building the relationships around the relauncher. So the mentor, the buddy, the manager, and of course, everybody on the call here. So right then and there, from the start, relaunchers will feel like they belong, right? They'll feel like they've got support and that they are there for a reason, and they don't have to hide the fact that they've been out for 6 years or 7 years. So right there, that sort of calms their anxiety and creates more space in their brain to do their job, right?
Mhm.
Because that's kind of been calmed down a little bit. So hats off to you for building such an amazing structured program. So I just wanted to call that out to everybody here. Okay, all right. So we kind of talked about that we were going to speak about culture. So both to Jeff and Jen, how do you feel that the program is a reflection of the environment? I know you talked about belonging a little bit, but if you could just even go back to the initial conversation around like, why do this program? Like, how did you learn about the fact that this was even a thing? And how it's been, you've done the pilot and how it's been socialized and received within Organon.
Do you want to go first, Jen?
No, go ahead, Jeff.
Okay. I can speak to the latter point, which was, how was it received in Organon? Our founders are extremely excited about Relaunch. Every time we introduce it to a leadership group, we get a lot of excitement and support on the ground for the program. I'll bring up an example. We introduced it at a town hall yesterday for Brazil. I believe it was yesterday. Yeah, okay, it was. And they were incredibly excited about it. In fact, they're kind of gung ho to the point where like we are going to hire some relaunchers. So there's a lot of excitement on the ground, and I think part of it also goes back to our mission as a company, which is we're here for her health. A lot of relaunchers are women who return from elder care or child care, and there's economic health as well, right? So this program really kind of aligns well with that with that mission statement.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
great.
I'll just add on
Yeah.
to that. And I actually was going to take it back, right? Because each of you out there, right, are trying to determine and make sure that Organon would be the right fit for you, right? Just like, Organon tries to, what Jeff just talked about, make sure you're the right fit for us, right? But I, every day I talk about our culture is an exciting time. Like we've built a really solid culture here. So for those of you that aren't familiar, Organon is actually a spin-off from Merck. So Merck is a large pharmaceutical company, also known as MSD outside the US. And what they've done is they've taken we've taken some of our legacy brands, our women's health piece, and our biosimilars, and we've developed this company called Organon. But Organon's mission really is around here for her health. And so, as Jeff just said, I'm a woman, right? And so I believe in our mission. But you may actually, may not be a woman, but you have women in your life that you care about. It could be a daughter, it could be a mom, it could be a grandmom, right? So women's health is so important, and you have to believe in our mission to fit into the culture here. But I want to just share really quick just our cultural values, because we talked about Jaleesa talked about bringing your fire. I've talked about we all belong. But listen to some of these other cultural values. It's around being real, act with integrity, rise together, keep moving, and own it. Those are some of the additional ones that we didn't already mention. So, Jaleesa mentioned about founder mentality. So when this company spun off, we were all founders, right? We don't call ourselves employees, we call ourselves founders. And so you would be joining us as a founder. And what that means is that you help form this company, you help build this culture, and that you contribute to that, right? You're a collaborator. You're helping to bring new ideas to the table, right? Relauncher, non-relauncher. We want to hear those ideas. And it's very entrepreneurial here. That's what we strive in. And we can be entrepreneurs in our own function, in our own world, bring those ideas and not be scared to rise together and bring those ideas. And so I truly believe in our culture. It's the number one reason why I love working at Organon. And I just want to share it because I think it's something solid. And lastly, I'm just going to give you an example. We in March, right? It's huge for us because International Women's Day is a celebration in the world, right? It's International Women's Day, and our CEO, this is 3 years in the making, right? Because we've been a company for 3 years, has given everyone at Organon the day off. And the reason why we have the day off on International Women's Day is so that we can take care of ourselves, or we can take care of the women in our lives. And sometimes you don't have time to do that, right? So that day, people set up appointments and people, take care of their health and wellness. And I just want to say that because I think it's really shows how Organon walks the talk. Is that the saying? Walks the talk, right, Jeff?
Yeah.
My sayings. so
Yeah.
Share that because I think it's important for our audience to hear about our culture.
Jen, thanks so much. When we were prepping, one of the questions that came through in the registration was, why do you work at Organon? And you being, the team here. And I just loved that question. We talked about it and we're like, Jen's going to answer that one. And I think you just did a really nice job answering it. So just wanted to call that out there. All right, we're going to go back to something that's top of mind to our audience, I'm sure, is the interviewing process, the application. Jeff, maybe to you, how does the interviewing process differ for someone who's a relauncher taking a break versus somebody who has not taken a break? How does that? And then I'm going to go to Adele and ask her how her experience was. But I'll start with you if I could.
Yeah, I mean, I think fundamentally the process itself would not differ, but our hiring managers, and as you've heard from Jen, right, our culture is one of belonging. So we've worked very hard with our hiring managers, with our TABPs to understand kind of how to be inclusive of relaunchers during the interview process. So, questions that might not go very well with a relauncher, we kind of coach them to not ask those questions, right? To not make anybody uncomfortable, to not sit there and, to ask maybe questions about a career break, but not really take it into consideration as part of the selection process. So, the actual process itself, is it going to be any quicker for a relauncher? Probably not.
Okay.
But I think you'll still have a good experience during your interview process because we try and give every candidate a good experience during their interview process.
Right. And what I'm hearing from you, Jeff, is that those that are going to be interviewing or, the talent acquisition team, they're very well informed of this talent and how unique and special it is, right? And so that's really important. I wanted to make sure that wasn't missed by our audience. So Adele, I'm going to go back over to you. Can you talk a little bit? Okay, so you decided I'm gonna go back to work. You did your homework. You were so excited to see that Organon in your home city was starting a program that seemed to be designed just for you. So how did you go about preparing for that interview? Were there any, and how did you calm your nerves? Maybe you didn't have any nerves. Maybe you weren't nervous.
I was just kind of like, I guess I passed the point of, oh, I have to get this job to, oh, if this happens, it happens. If it doesn't, I'll try something else, and I was open. But it was funny because I was like, oh, this is not going to happen. This is not going to work. This is not, I don't know. I was getting so used to rejections that I was just like programmed to get rejected again, So I was just getting kind of like emotionally prepared for, and then when they called me for an interview, I was kind of surprised. You know, it was a nice surprise. But I guess for this one, it didn't seem like I prepared so much, honestly. But you know, that's not my advice. I would say you should be prepared. You know, make sure you have all that experience sort of documented and be able to talk about it in an articulate way. But I had just finished, I was preparing for an art show at the same time. So I was kind of thinking about how would I tell someone about that if they asked. And so all the sort of experience I had in that, at the sort of end of my break, I tried to kind of bring that all into an interview, you know. But my interview process, I'm not sure if you want me to talk about the interview process now, Elizabeth, but
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, sure. All right. So it was it felt so natural and comfortable. It was just you know, my HR manager, I believe, Patricia Felix, I'm just going to name her name because she was great. And she just made me feel very at ease when she asked me questions. And then when it got to the point where I was talking to my potential would-be managers, it was the same way. It just felt very natural. It wasn't like that for previous interviews. So I guess, you know, I had a good feeling about the company, and it was the first impression of Organon on me going into it. So it was a good impression.
Awesome.
Elizabeth,
Something yeah, go ahead. No, you go.
I just wanted to add to that because Adele brought up something that stuck out to me as well. So I'm not officially new, but newer to the team. It's Organon. I just hit my year mark. And my interview process, very similar to Adele's, was fantastic. And what I caught was something similar to what Jen said, is that, you know, Organon really walks it like they talk it. So they mentioned, even in the application phase, you know, we're here for her health, and you'll see that in the job descriptions. And so when I had my interview, I saw people that looked like me. I saw African American, I saw women, and immediately I started to feel more comfortable because I thought, wow, okay, so this company by their diversity initiatives. And then what was also great is that I saw people who didn't look like me. You know, I interviewed with Jeff. I was like, okay, man. But, you know, and people from different generations and different origins and backgrounds. And so, you know, again, I remember I had 2 interviews, and the first was with, I think, 3 or 4 people. And I left and I called my friends. I said, if I didn't get this job, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Said, you know, it was so organic. And, you know, I love that the founders here, the questions that were asked of me made me feel like that they weren't just focused again on my work experience and the technical aspect. Does she have the degree? Did she work at this company? It was really just about getting to know me. You know, again, like Jen was saying, you know, we're very passionate here at Organon about women's health. And so they wanted to know, hey, is this someone that really can stand behind what we're all here for? So I just wanted to share that, because when Adele was talking about it, I was like, yeah, I know exactly what she's talking about. This was really good.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Jaleesa. Something I wanted to point out to our audience, if you haven't already seen the next Relaunch Your Career with Organon, their landing page, please take a look at it, because there's a lot of great information, a lot of which Jaleesa and the team here has already shared with you. But if you scroll down to the bottom, you're going to see tips on resume writing. They were very, very thoughtful on preparing you for applying. And I think it just speaks, again, reinforces the thoughtfulness and the intentionality that this team has gone about in launching this program. You all will be receiving some resources early next week that will have that website for you, and then we'll also be sharing some helpful blogs and podcasts that are on our website as well, some resources that will really help prepare you for your process of relaunching. So I just wanted to give you a heads up with respect to that, because I know we don't have the chat feature here on the platform we're all using. So you'll be able to leverage that once you receive it in your thank you email. All right, so great conversation. Thank you everybody for being so open. And so I wanted to go back to you, Adele. If you had one piece of advice to give to relaunchers in our audience today who are really interested in applying to Organon and the roles, what made it be? And if you have to say, Elizabeth, come back to me, because I didn't give you the heads up on this call, but it just kind of came to me. We can do that, because there were some other questions that came in on the through the registration process. So you want me to come back to you on that one?
Oh, I can.
Yeah.
I think this was one of the ones that I had time to think about. So yeah, I mean, I kind of touched upon it earlier, but I would say you should have an idea of what you want. But I also think it's important to be open, because life can take you into another career path. Like, I was not expecting to be in this this area of work that I am in right now. Source to settle, invoice processing, very operational. And I'm here and I've learned so much, and I've kind of figured out, okay, within this area, where do I want to focus? Where do I want to grow? Where do I want my career to go? It kind of helped me to define this period of time, helped me to define where I wanted to go after here. And one of the things that I really loved about my mentorship time with you, Elizabeth, and iRelaunch as a program, is that it's not just focused on getting us back to work, it's focused on our success at work. It's something that I guess I wasn't really thinking about at the time, and I was like, I think the program itself has this mission that's so beautiful that it just it's not just to get back to work. It's we have so much experience, life experience, that we have gathered in that time that we were out of the marketplace. and we believe in you. iRelaunch believes that you can do great things. And so that's one of the things that was just like, wow, yeah, wow, okay, I'm one of those. You kind of forget, you forget about it, because, or you maybe you need to be reminded, or you need to be encouraged, So
Right.
I really appreciated that about the program, and the time here at Organon this past year has definitely helped me to kind of get back into the marketplace and kind of figure out, okay, where do I want my career to go? So.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Adele. That's great. And Organon is looking at this as, they're recruiting, they really want to hire relaunchers, but it's not just about recruiting. It's also about retention. It's also about career progression, right? And so while they really understand the talent, they also really understand the potential, right, for growth there at Organon. And so with that, and it's a way they measure success, right, of these programs. So I wanted to talk a little bit, Adele, if you could share with us some news about, you're like the prime example of career progression, having taken a break. And you started, for our audience, the program launched in January of 2023. We're sitting here, third week or so in March of 2024, not much longer after you started. And so, congratulations, but please share with everybody.
So I will be starting a new position with the global process ownership team. I'm still a little bit wary about the title. I had to look it up before I got on this call. As a specialist, and it is another, it's a promotion, if you will, but it is a different team, but it is still linked to source to settle because it's kind of focused more on the process, the business process, and how we can improve it. And I will be specifically working with vendor onboarding. So it's an area that I had my eye on, and the opportunity came up, and I applied for it internally, and I didn't think I honestly, again, I didn't think I was going to get it. You know, it called for much more experience, but we actually did a yellow belt program. I can't remember, I think it was 6 months ago or so. And one of the managers, one of the assignments called for us to kind of analyze the process. And I believe my current hiring manager saw some of my work, and I guess that kind of spoke volumes to her when I went to apply for the job. I was kind of already thinking about how to improve the process ever since I got in. So I kind of put my thoughts on paper and shared it, and I believe that's one of the things that qualified me for the job, if you will, for the new position. And I'm really excited about the next step, about the next chapter. We'll see. We'll see what adventure will happen.
Yeah. I love that. It's a common trait, though, as when we started here today talking about relaunchers, and they're really hungry to contribute, hungry to add value. And once, this soft landing is so critical to us getting back and, increasing our confidence. And yes, we've lived life, right? So we're not those early career applicants. We've lived life. We have those soft skills. And you're the walking success story, Adele, with how that impacted your career trajectory. And just hats off to Organon for recognizing that, and obviously having that, be a part of what their mission is. And so, all right.
And I'll just say that as somebody
Please.
who onboards vendors occasionally, I'll be knocking on Adele's door.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Give her some ideas. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I started off by saying I was going to weave some of the questions into our panel discussion, and that there were some at the end that I'd like to be able to, if we had time, to address. So if it's okay with you all, I think we still have some time here. And so these may not be in any particular order, and I'm just going to kind of put them out there. One question to come in from the audience during the registration process: can I apply to more than one role?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We encourage it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
For sure.
Okay, great. Okay. Another thing is, most of my work experience has been in HR and was outside of the US. So will I be considered for the program? So their experience is outside, and they're applying, it doesn't really say, but maybe they're applying in the US. So they're able to apply?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, great. All right. So another thing was with respect to imposter syndrome. And do you have any advice? I mean, it's very common. We actually all have, I think, imposter syndrome, whether or not you've taken a career break, right? And it can be situational, and you're like, oh, I don't, this is not, they're going to find me out. They're going to find me out. And I really shouldn't be here. Do you have any advice to our audience about how to address imposter syndrome? Any resources or anything? Jaleesa, I see you kind of nodding your head there. Can I ask you to address that?
Yeah, absolutely. I deal with this a lot on so many different levels. And, I'm so glad that Adele really talked about that, even talking about her promotion. You heard her say she was a little hesitant. I didn't think I was going to get the job, and she did. One thing for me that has helped me with my imposter syndrome is, and it sounds so simple, but it can be quite challenging, is really just to try. You don't know unless you do it, and you have to just put yourself
Exactly.
out there. And something that helps me back that up is I surround myself outside of work with a group of people that, former colleagues, friends, even family. I actually have a group of ladies that I work with at another company, and we meet every Thursday for like a virtual happy hour. And sometimes what we'll do in that time is just literally go around the circle and say, what is this person's strong point? And I remember we did this sister circle thing, and everyone left just blown, like, oh my goodness, you really see that in me. And it really helped to build our confidence. So that's, again, just really putting yourself out there and trying. I think that we as human beings do a really good job of downing ourselves a bit. Um,
Hmm.
and we have to really give ourselves more credit than we do, because what you don't see in you, someone else will. And I use
Yeah.
another example. I'm on Jeff's team, and we have these monthly calls where it's kind of like a think tank, and we have these themes, and everyone presents their ideas, and then we vote on the top ideas, and then we run with it. That's the simple way of putting it. And I remember we had our first one, I think it was in February. And I really didn't even know where to start. I was like, okay, so Jeff gave us the floor, said everyone submit their idea, and I submitted mine. And I thought immediately, I was like, no one's gonna vote for this. This is so corny. This is a terrible idea. But I submitted it, and so then Jeff pulled up the vote, and I remember I turned from my desk and I looked and I said, "Is that mine?" I was like, really? You voted for mine? So again, if I didn't just put the idea out there, who knows, I would have missed an opportunity to take a lead on a small project. But again, being able to have a leader like Jeff and Kristen Peterson, who's on the call as well, that give us the opportunity to really overcome our imposter syndrome by giving us the space to present who we are and our ideas, is helpful as well.
Mhm.
So, and I was just
Awesome.
gonna add that, much more high level than that. I don't have an actual example, but Organon is a growth organization. We believe that all of our founders can grow, whether it be laterally or through skills development or through a gig or through, experiences, whatever the case may be. But we also understand that that comes with being uncomfortable, right? So I think we give people the space to be uncomfortable, with the understanding that, yeah, you might trip every once in a while, and that's okay, as long as you're learning something and you're growing in your career. So I think that for me is actually one of the things that separates Organon from a lot of the other organizations that I've worked with, is that in a lot of places kind of like, oh, we're going to say that we're a growth organization, but we're not actually, because unless you've done this and this, you can't progress. But at Organon, we're really looking for growth for all of our founders.
Yeah, I love that. I like that very much. All right, one more here with respect to, we talked a little bit about the sort of the support that's around the relauncher. Yes, the community of alumni, right? Their manager, you all here. Can someone talk a little bit about mentorship?
To come off mute here. So I can talk about that. And is it just about, what that looks like here at Organon? Or okay, yeah, great.
Yeah, they're at Organon and what you offer with respect to mentoring.
Yeah, absolutely. So it can look very different depending on, like through Relaunch, our mentorship might look a little different than what mentoring might look like through our ERGs. But through the program, it's pretty simple. What we'll do is, for example, I'll use Adele as example, assigning her a mentor. Let's say she's a new relauncher, and we take into consideration her background, the mentor's background, where they're located. A mentor at Organon through our Relaunch program doesn't necessarily have to sit in the same location as the
Mhm.
relauncher. It's great if that can happen, but we're a global company and sometimes it can be hard to make that match. But what our mentor will do, wherever they're located, is that they will connect weekly with their or biweekly with their relauncher to talk about career progression, give career advice. If the relauncher has just any type of question, they can talk to their mentor, and the mentor will act something like a sponsor for them. So, again, as Adele mentioned, she had that opportunity that she just got. Again, I can't say how more excited I am for Adele, but your mentor here through the Relaunch program will be something like a sponsor for you. So if they'll have connections and people that they're familiar with in the organization, and if as Jeff mentioned, if you're interested in some type of career growth, or you see a role internally, like, hey, I really would like to pursue that, your mentor will be someone to help you build that bridge and build those connections to push you through your career progression. So that's kind of a high level overview of what mentorship looks like here at Organon. And again, there's so many opportunities that we present internally for us to support one another as mentors and to acquire a mentor.
Awesome. Jaleesa, thank you so much for that, because I know having a mentor is super important, just with the confidence, right? Even just the self-confidence piece of it. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. That is the end of our questions here. But I don't want to cut us off unless somebody else has something that they want to cover that maybe wasn't addressed today. I am super excited having had the partnership through the pilot program to see this taking off and expanding to such great locations, and the rolling admissions so that the applications can start as soon as the jobs are live. But Jaleesa, I'll hand it back off to you for the closing remarks.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, and the iRelaunch team. And thank you to my team, my colleagues on the call, for just joining us today. As Elizabeth said, we'll follow up with everyone after today's call, probably by early next week. And just send a follow-up thank you to everyone. We'll send you tons of resources, including our landing page for you to view a little bit more in detail about what the program entails. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn as the program manager. If you have any questions, I welcome it. I embrace it. So send it my way. You can connect with me on LinkedIn and we can chat there. But again, we do encourage you all to look at our careers page, join our talent community so that you'll be notified about upcoming opportunities that we do have at Organon. And all of our positions, direct hire, full-time positions, are live. And in the US, Canada, and Brazil, you are eligible to apply there. So we really want to see those applications go up and up. And we thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.